There are monsters in every universe. Some wear capes and smile for cameras. Some wear armor forged in hell itself and smile for no one. Vought Tower's 99th floor glittered with champagne flutes and designer gowns. The annual Heroes Gala in full swing. America's finest, or at least America's most marketable, mingled beneath crystal chandeliers while cameras captured every manufactured moment of inspiration. Homelander stood at the room's center like a sun, blue eyes sweeping across the crowd with proprietorial satisfaction. This was his kingdom. These were his subjects. Every flash, every gasp of admiration, every trembling handshake fed the bottomless hunger inside him. "Homelander, over here!" A reporter thrust a microphone forward. "How does it feel knowing you've saved more lives this year than any other hero?" He flashed his practiced smile, the one that had launched 10,000 action figures. "Well, I don't do it for the recognition, but..." He paused for effect, letting them lean in. "It feels pretty fucking great." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Controlled, adoring, perfect. Queen Maeve stood near the bar, fourth drink in hand, watching him with barely concealed contempt. A-Train worked the room with desperate energy, still clinging to relevance after his heart condition forced him to slow down. The Deep attempted conversation with a marine biologist who looked ready to bolt. Just another night in America's corporate superhero machine, where Nielsen ratings mattered more than body counts and PR controlled everything. Stan Edgar observed from the executive level, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Homelander caught his gaze and held it, a silent reminder of who really held power in this building. Edgar might sign the checks, but Homelander could kill everyone here before security drew breath. They both knew it. The lights flickered, just once, barely noticeable. Homelander's smile faltered for a microsecond. His hearing, so acute he could detect heartbeats 3 floors down, caught something wrong. A frequency that shouldn't exist. A vibration in the air like reality, grinding against itself. And that's why the 7 represents the best of... The floor shuddered. Champagne glasses rattled. Conversations stuttered. Homelander's head snapped toward the eastern wall, X-ray vision piercing through steel and concrete. Nothing. No explosives, no structural damage. But the frequency was getting louder, a grinding roar that existed just below human hearing range. "Everyone stay calm," he announced, voice cutting through rising murmurs. "Just a minor tremor. Nothing I can't..." The wall exploded. Not from outside, from between. Green fire erupted through the ballroom. Wrong in every way fire could be wrong. It didn't spread naturally. It tore, ripped, clawed at the fabric of space itself. Screams erupted as guests scrambled backward, but Homelander stood transfixed. His enhanced vision saw through the flames to something worse. A portal. A dimensional wound bleeding impossible geometry, and the stench of sulfur. And something was stepping through. The figure emerged slowly, deliberately, like a nightmare learning to walk in waking hours. 7 feet of ancient armor, green and brown and scored with the scratches of 10,000 battles. A helmet that revealed nothing but reflected firelight like a demon's eye. Massive gauntlets that had crushed skulls and torn through flesh and bone without hesitation. The Doomslayer had arrived. Homelander's first instinct was amusement. Another armored wannabe, probably some Vought experiment gone wrong, or a foreign military's failed attempt at their own super. He dealt with countless imitators. One more wouldn't... The Slayer's head turned, slowly, scanning the room, and stopped on Homelander. Something cold crawled down Homelander's spine. Something he hadn't felt in years. Not since the White Room. Not since the scientists with their needles and their tests, and their complete control over his childhood. The Slayer's presence was wrong. It wasn't just the armor or the portal or the green fire still crackling at the wound in reality. It was the weight of him. The absolute certainty radiating from that motionless figure. Homelander had fought terrorists, battled supervillains, killed countless enemies. None of them had looked at him like this, like he was prey. Okay, big guy. Homelander forced his smile back, floating 6 inches off the ground, hands on hips in his signature pose. The cameras were still rolling. He could salvage this, turn it into another ratings boost. I don't know what kind of entrance you were going for, but you just crashed a private event. So here's how this works. You surrender peacefully, or I put you down. Your choice. The Slayer reached over his shoulder. The weapon he drew made A-Train gasp audibly. A double-barreled shotgun, massive and brutal, with modifications that suggested someone had taken already lethal firepower and asked, "How can I make this worse?" Green light pulsed along chambers that definitely weren't standard ammunition. "Last chance," Homelander said, heat building behind his eyes. "I really don't want to kill you in front of all these nice people, but..." The Slayer loaded shells with mechanical precision. Homelander's lasers lanced out, twin beams of superheated death that had cut through tanks. Melted steel incinerated terrorists. They struck the Slayer's armor, dead center. Energy that should have instantly reduced flesh to ash. The Slayer walked forward through the beams like rain. "What the fuck?" The super shotgun roared. Homelander dodged on instinct, superhuman reflexes saving him from the full blast. But pellets clipped his left arm, and suddenly there was pain. Real pain. The kind he hadn't felt since childhood. Experimentation. When they tested his limits with increasingly creative torture. Blood welled from shallow wounds. His blood. On camera. In front of everyone. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Guests fled screaming toward exits, while vault security flooded in with useless automatic weapons. The Slayer ignored them entirely, his entire focus locked on Homelander, with the patient intensity of an apex predator. Queen Maeve grabbed civilians, herding them toward exits with uncharacteristic urgency. The deep dove through a window, vanishing into the night. A-Train blurred past in full retreat. None of them wanted any part of this. Smart. Homelander touched his arm, stared at red fingers in disbelief. 17 years of absolute invulnerability, shattered by some armored psycho with a modified shotgun. The wrongness of it paralyzed him for 3 full seconds. The Slayer closed the distance, weapon rising for another shot. Homelander's survival instinct finally kicked in. He shot upward through the ceiling in a shower of debris, through 5 more floors, bursting into night air above Manhattan. His heart hammered, actually hammered, against his ribs. Below, Vault Tower blazed with alarms and emergency lights. He'd retreated. He'd fled. Him, Homelander, the greatest superhero who ever lived. From inside the building, more shotgun blasts echoed, screaming. The wet sounds of security guards dying badly. Homelander hovered 300 feet up, chest heaving, mind racing. That thing down there had hurt him, had looked at him like he was just another target, like he was nothing special, nothing super, like he was a demon that needed exterminating. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. This is just the beginning. Inside Vought Tower, the Doomslayer reloaded methodically, gaze tracking upward toward the hole in the ceiling. Visceral, action-focused had just begun at full capacity. Homelander floated above Manhattan, watching emergency vehicles converge on Vought Tower like ants swarming a disturbed nest. His arm still bled, shallow wounds already healing, but the memory of impact burned hotter than the pain itself. He'd panicked, actually fucking panicked, in front of cameras, in front of everyone. His reflection stared back from a skyscraper's mirrored surface. Hair slightly mussed, expression wild, cape torn. Not the pristine image Vought paid billions to maintain. Not the god that America worshipped. Just a man who'd been hurt and ran away. Unacceptable. No, he muttered, jaw clenching. No, I was surprised. Caught off guard. That's all. Below, another explosion rocked the tower's 75th floor. Windows shattered outward in a glittering cascade, and he caught a glimpse of green muzzle flash. The armored freak was still in there, still killing his peep-vidents, and the Slayer moved to his next target. Levi's show Homelander's inexperience against real threats Section 2 Hall, still making him look weak. Homelander's fists clenched. He'd faced down terrorists, military drones, government black ops. One lucky shot didn't make this asshole special. It made him dead. He just needed to stop thinking and start doing what he did best. Killing. He dove. The building rushed up to meet him as he accelerated past terminal velocity, crashing through the 75th floor window in an explosion of glass and fury. His heat vision swept the corridor before his boots touched down, ready to incinerate. Bodies everywhere. Vought security forces lay scattered like broken dolls. Weapons still clutched in dead hands. Not just shot, destroyed. One man's chest cavity had been opened by something that left the back wall painted red. Another's head was simply gone, separated at the jaw with surgical violence. A third had been torn in half, organs spilling across expensive carpet. And walking through the carnage, reloading that massive shotgun with mechanical calm, was the Slayer. "Hey!" Homelander's voice cracked like thunder. "You want my attention? You've got it, asshole." The Slayer's helmet turned. No fear, no hesitation. Just that same patient, predatory focus. "I don't know what kind of experimental bullshit you crawled out of," Homelander continued, heat building behind his eyes again. "But you just killed Vought employees. My people. And that means..." The Slayer's left gauntlet snapped up, and something launched from his wrist. Homelander dodged, barely, as a grappling hook punched through the space his head had occupied. The Slayer yanked himself forward impossibly fast, closing 30 feet in a heartbeat, and that shotgun swung up point blank. Homelander caught the barrel. Not this time. He crushed the weapon with superhuman grip, metal shrieking as it compressed into useless scrap. The Slayer released it without hesitation, left hand already. Drawing something else, a pistol, massive and brutal, glowing with that same wrong green energy. The shot caught Homelander in the chest. Not a bullet. Plasma. Superheated hell energy that punched into Kevlar-tough flesh and burned. Homelander screamed more from shock than pain and lashed out with his laser vision. Twin beams carved through the corridor, melting steel support beams, igniting carpet, tracking toward... Gone. The Slayer had moved. Impossibly fast for something that size, that armored. Homelander spun, searching, and caught movement behind him. He whirled, fist already swinging with enough force to pulverize concrete. The Slayer blocked. Not dodged, blocked. That massive gauntlet came up and caught Homelander's punch, redirected it, and suddenly Homelander was off balance. A knee drove into his ribs. He felt something crack, and then something cold and sharp pressed against his throat. A blade, curved, glowing, 1 inch from his jugular. They froze, face to face, less. Homelander stared into that helmet's dark visor and saw nothing human looking back. Just absolute certainty. Just death. Patient and inexorable. "I can kill you," Homelander hissed. "I can burn through your fucking skull before you—" The blade pressed harder, drew blood. Homelander's breath caught. The Slayer was faster. Impossibly, undeniably faster. If he tried the lasers, that blade would open his throat before the beams reached their target. Checkmate. For 5 eternal seconds they held that position. Then alarms shrieked louder. Emergency protocols activating. Sprinklers burst to life, drenching the corridor in fire-suppressant foam. The distraction was minimal, but the Slayer's attention flickered for just a microsecond. Homelander moved. He shot backward, not caring about dignity, putting distance between himself and that blade. His back hit the corridor's far wall, hard enough to crack concrete. The Slayer holstered the blade and drew yet another weapon. This one looked like someone had crossed a rifle with a railgun and fed it radioactive ammunition. The first shot missed Homelander's head by inches and vaporized the wall behind him. The second punched through his shoulder, and suddenly his right arm wasn't responding correctly. Not paralyzed, just wrong. Like the nerves were screaming in languages his brain didn't understand. Fuck! He launched himself through the nearest wall, bursting into an executive office. A lawyer screamed and dove under his desk. Homelander ignored him, mind racing. That thing had hurt him. Multiple times. With multiple weapons. Each one different. Each one somehow calibrated to punch through his invulnerability like it was tissue paper. This wasn't some compound V experiment. This was something else. Something from outside their universe. Outside their rules. And it fought like it had killed things far worse than one narcissistic Supe. Footsteps. Heavy, methodical, getting closer. Homelander's hands trembled. He looked down at them, his hands that had crushed steel and caught bullets and never, ever shaken, and felt something he'd buried since childhood claw its way up his throat. Fear. Real, primal, survival instinct fear. The Slayer appeared in the doorway, silhouetted by emergency lighting. That massive frame filled the entrance completely. The rifle in his hands tracked Homelander with patient precision. "Okay," Homelander said, hating how his voice cracked. "Okay. You've made your point. You're tough. I get it. But do you have any idea who I am? What I can do?" The Slayer raised the weapon. "I'm Homelander. I'm the greatest." The shot took him in the chest and blew him backward, through 3 walls, through the building's outer structure, into open air. He tumbled, weightless and stunned, before his flight instincts kicked in. He stabilized 500 feet above the street, coughing blood, vision swimming. Below in the hole he'd made, the Slayer stood watching. Not pursuing, just watching with that infinite patience. Homelander fled into the night, leaving Vault Tower and his shattered pride behind. Word count, Sianda Das 106, awaiting. Continue, 454, a architected narrative aftermath, exploring psychological unraveling and escalating conflict. Section 3 needs to show the aftermath of the first real fight. Homelander has been humiliated and wounded twice now. This should show Homelander's psychological breakdown, beginning Vaught's response, Stan Edgar. The boys learning about this new player. The Slayer continuing his hunt, building tension for what comes next. The Slayer should be methodical, not just randomly killing. He perceives Supes as demons, corrupt beings masquerading as heroes. He's hunting them systematically. Homelander needs to be spiraling. His invulnerability and godhood have been shattered. His narcissism will turn this into obsession. Don't care where he's from, Butcher said. Only care that he made Homelander bleed, which means he can be used. Hunting. Keep the word Count landed on the penthouse balcony of his private apartment, 12 blocks from Vote Tower. His shoulders screamed where that impossible weapon had punched through. His chest bore a crater the size of a fist, and his ribs sent white-hot agony through his torso with every breath. The wounds were healing, his body's remarkable regeneration already knitting flesh back together, but the damage to his psyche ran deeper than any bullet. He stumbled inside, leaving bloody footprints across white carpet. The mirror in his entryway reflected a nightmare. Cape shredded, suit scorched and torn, face spattered with his own blood. Not the gentle fake blood from choreographed movie fights. Real blood. His blood. I'm fine, he told his reflection. I'm fine. Just needed to regroup. Strategic retreat. His reflection didn't look convinced. He grabbed a bottle of bourbon from the bar, something expensive that Stan Edgar had gifted him. Probably worth more than most caught. 3 missed calls from Ashley. 15 from Stan Edgar. News alerts cascading down the screen. Breaking attack on Vought Tower. Homelander flees mysterious armored assailant who is the Green Demon. Fled. They use the word fled. Not tactical withdrawal or pursuing the enemy, or any of the sanitized PR bullshit Ashley usually spun. Just fled. Like a coward. The bourbon bottle shattered against the wall. His phone rang. Stan Edgar. Homelander stared at it for 3 rings before answering, trying to control his breathing. Where are you? Edgar's voice was ice. No concern, just calculation. My apartment. You needed to finish the fight. On camera. Instead, the entire world just watched you run away from a single combatant while he butchered 37 security personnel. That thing isn't human. It had weapons that could hurt me. Nobody told me. Nobody told you because nobody knew. Edgar's tone didn't change. Which is why you should have stayed and neutralized the threat instead of making us look weak. Do you understand what you've done? Our stock is in free fall. The board is in an emergency session. Every government contract we hold is being reconsidered because America's greatest hero just demonstrated he can be beaten. I wasn't beaten. I was bleeding on live television. The footage is everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. You running away while an unknown entity tears through our headquarters. Ashley is working to damage control, but this is catastrophic. Homelander's grip tightened on the phone. Then let me go back. Let me finish it. I'll kill that armored fuck and prove... No. Edgar's interruption was absolute. You'll wait for my orders. We have assets moving into position. The 7 minus you are being briefed. Queen Maeve actually volunteered to... Maeve! Venom dripped from the name. That washed-up bitch volunteered? Unlike you, she didn't flee. She evacuated civilians while you were busy protecting your ego. The words hit harder than any of the Slayer's weapons. Homelander's jaw clenched so tight his teeth creaked. I want him dead, Stan. Whatever it takes. I don't care what it costs. Of course you don't. You never do. Edgar hung up. Homelander stood in his destroyed apartment, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt hollow. His shoulder was nearly healed now, flesh knitting back together, but he kept touching it, kept confirming it was real, that he'd actually been hurt. 17 years of absolute invulnerability shattered in one night. 3 miles away, in a grimy basement that smelled of stale beer and desperation, Billy Butcher watched the same footage for the 20th time. "Rewind it," he ordered. "Right there, when Homelander's laser hits." worked the laptop. Controls. Backing up the shaky phone video some hero-worshipping idiot had posted before Vort's lawyers could scrub it. The footage was poor quality, shot through a window from the street, but it showed enough. Homelander's heat vision striking the armored figure dead center. No effect. The figure walking forward through beams that should have incinerated anything organic. Then the shotgun blast. Then Homelander's blood. Beautiful, Butcher breathed. Absolutely fucking beautiful. That's what we're calling it? Huey stood in the corner, looking queasy. That thing killed almost 40 people, Butcher. Security guards. Some of them were just Vought employees, Butcher interrupted. Working for a corporation that covers up rape, murder, and casual genocide on a quarterly basis. I'll shed tears for them right after I'm done pissing on Homelander's grave. Frenchie leaned over MM's shoulder, studying the freeze frame of the armored figure. This is not Compound V. This is something else entirely. Look at the armor, the weapons, that portal he came through. This is not of our world. D, rapidly, and Frenchie translated. She says this creature is not something you use. This is something you point and pray it kills the right people. Even better. Butcher grinned, the expression predatory. What's our intel on where the cunt went after the tower? pulled up a map with tracking data. Vort's locked down the building. National Guard on scene. But we're picking up reports of disturbances across Manhattan. Here, here, and here. He pointed to 3 locations. All of them connected to known Supes activities. Underground fighting ring. That club where A-Train buys V. And this warehouse in Hell's Kitchen. What's in Hell's Kitchen? Was, corrected. Building burned down 2 hours ago. Witnesses reported seeing someone in green armor drag 3 men out before setting fire to the whole structure. Men were identified as members of Vault's Special Projects Division, the division that handles wet work. Butcher's grin widened. He's hunting them. The cunt's actually hunting Supes. Or hunting everyone, Huey interjected. We don't know what this thing wants. What if it's just killing randomly? What if we're next? Then we die doing something useful. Butcher stood, grabbing his jacket. Frenchie, dig up everything you can on dimensional portals, military armor programs, anything that might explain our new friend. Keep tracking him. I want to know every move he makes. Huey, let me guess. Stay here and be the voice of reason nobody listens to? No. You're coming with me. We're going to pay someone a visit. Someone who might actually know what the fuck we're dealing with. Who? Someone even more paranoid than me. Butcher headed for the stairs. Someone who's been preparing for the day when something comes along that can actually kill Homelander. In the ruins of Vought Tower's 75th floor, the Doomslayer methodically searched through debris. His HUD scanned corpses, architecture, technology. This world was strange, advanced in some ways, primitive in others. The so-called superheroes were abominations, genetic modifications gone wrong, creating beings with power but no purpose except narcissism and violence. Like demons in different skin. His gauntlet computer had catalogued 17 targets in this city alone. Enhanced beings who use their power to prey on the weak. The one who'd fled. The one they called Homelander was the alpha predator. The biggest demon. The one that needed to die first. But the Slayer was patient. He'd learned patience in hell, in eons of combat against endless hordes. You didn't just kill the icon of sin, you tore down every demon in its army first. You isolated it. You made it scared. Then you ripped it apart. His motion tracker pinged. 4 signatures approaching from the stairwell. Armed military-grade weapons. Not a threat, but an irritation. The Slayer loaded explosive shells into his combat shotgun and waited. The soldiers entered in tactical formation. Night vision active, fingers tight on triggers. They saw the carnage. Saw him standing in the center of it, bathed in emergency lighting. Target acquired, their leader whispered into comms. Engaging. They opened fire. The Slayer walked through the bullets and got to work. Stan Edgar sat in his executive office, 30 floors above the carnage, watching multiple news feeds with the dispassion of a man reading stock reports. Every screen showed variations of the same disaster. Vought Tower under siege, bodies being carried out, Homelander's bloodied retreat playing on loop. His phone buzzed. The 7th board member in 10 minutes. Yes, Robert. Stan, what the hell is happening? Our insurance won't cover acts of interdimensional warfare. The lawsuits alone are being handled, Edgar interrupted smoothly. Ashley's team is processing non-disclosure agreements for every survivor. Legal is preparing our statement. And I've already been in contact with the Defense Department about acquiring the combatant for study. Acquiring? Stan? That thing killed 43 people and made our flagship product look like a scared child. 47 now, Edgar corrected, glancing at an updated casualty report. And yes, that's precisely why we need to acquire it. Imagine what we could learn. What we could replicate. Silence on the other end. Then, you want to weaponize it. I want to understand it. There's a difference. Edgar stood, moving to his window. Below, National Guard units established a perimeter, while news helicopters circled like vultures. Homelander has been our greatest asset, and our greatest liability. Unpredictable, emotionally unstable, increasingly difficult to control. This incident proves we need alternatives. Alternatives? We've sunk 40 years and billions into the compound fig program. Homelander is supposed to be invincible. Supposed to be. Edgar watched emergency lights pulse across the building's damaged floors. But tonight, the entire world learned otherwise. Which means every terrorist organization, every rival nation, every petty criminal with a grudge now knows he can bleed. We need to adapt before they do. He ended the call and pressed his intercom. Ashley, status report. Her voice came through high and frantic. We're fucked. We're completely fucked. Twitter is calling Homelander a coward. Homelander Runs is trending worldwide. Our approval rating dropped 18 points in 2 hours. CNN has a body count ticker. Fox is demanding to know why we can't protect American citizens. And MSNBC is Ashley. His tone could have frozen nitrogen. I didn't ask for hysterics. I asked for status. She took a shaky breath. I've got talking points ready. We're spinning the armored figure as an unknown terrorist threat, possibly Russian or Chinese. Homelander was protecting civilians by drawing the enemy away from populated areas. He's currently hunting the threat across the city. We'll have victory footage by morning. Good. Make sure Homelander actually delivers that victory. About that, Ashley hesitated. He's not answering his phone. I've sent 3 teams to his apartment. He won't let anyone in. The last person who knocked said he could hear Homelander inside, just talking to himself. Edgar closed his eyes briefly. Find Queen Maeve. Tell her she's interim team leader until further notice. Maeve, but Homelander will do what I tell him, when I tell him. Or he'll discover what happens to assets that become liabilities. In a dimly lit safe house across town, Butcher and Huey sat across from a woman who looked like she'd been expecting Armageddon for decades and was disappointed it had taken so long. Grace Mallory, former CIA deputy director, and the only person who'd successfully buried evidence of super atrocities for 40 years before developing a conscience, studied the footage on Butcher's laptop with clinical precision. Well, Butcher prompted, you see anything like this in your Black Ops days? No. Mallory's voice was gravel and cigarettes, but I've seen the files on what Vault tried to create before they settled on Compound V, Project Colossus, Project Titan. Military super soldiers designed to be controllable, unlike the egomaniac Supes. Every attempt failed. Violent failures. Facilities burned. Entire research teams disappeared. You think this is one of theirs? I think if Vought created this, they'd have better documentation than mysterious portal opens and armored death machine emerges. She tapped the screen where the green energy rift was visible. This is dimensional. Gateway technology. The kind of science that makes nuclear physics look like kindergarten arithmetic. Huey leaned forward. So he's from another dimension, another universe, or another version of our universe where things went very differently. Mallory pulled out a classified file. So redacted it was mostly black bars. 15 years ago, DARPA had a theoretical weapons program called Hellgate. The idea was opening portals to hostile dimensions and weaponizing whatever came through. The project was shut down after the lead scientist killed himself and left a 1-sentence suicide note. We found them. God help us. We found them. Found what? He didn't specify. The entire program was buried, but the scattered reports before shutdown mentioned detecting a dimension where hell wasn't mythology, where demons were real, and where something, if existed, that had been killing them for eons. Butcher grinned. You're telling me we've got an actual demon slayer running around Manhattan? I'm telling you we have something that sees Homelander as a target worth hunting, which means it either can't distinguish between actual threats and Vaught's propaganda, or, she paused meaningfully, or it knows exactly what Homelander is, Huey finished, and considers him a demon anyway. Mallory nodded. 47 people dead tonight. All Vault employees. All connected to black operations. The creature isn't killing randomly. It's targeting specific individuals. The ones who help cover up soupy crimes, Butcher said. The cleaners, the fixers, the cunts who make problems disappear. Which means someone, or something, is working from intelligence. This isn't mindless violence. It's an execution list. Butcher stood, pacing. So how do we contact it? Contact it? Huey's voice went up an octave. It just killed almost 50 people. Why would we want to contact it? Because the enemy of my enemy is my beautiful new best friend. Butcher turned to Mallory. You've got locations on Vault's black sites? The places they keep the really nasty secrets. Some, not all. Give them to me. If this thing is hunting Vault's dirty laundry, we'll lead it to the industrial-size washing machines. Across the city, in an underground fighting ring where Supes battled for criminal entertainment and side money, the Doomslayer descended into blood sport. The facility was deep. 3 sub-basements beneath a supposedly abandoned meatpacking plant. The stench of old blood and newer fear permeated concrete walls. Caged fights played out under harsh lighting while wealthy criminals bet fortunes on superhuman violence. Tonight's main event featured Groundhog, a B-list super with earth manipulation powers, crushing a non-powered fighter's skull against the cage wall. The crowd roared approval. Money changed hands. Nobody noticed the armored figure enter from the service tunnels. The Slayer's HUD tagged 17 enhanced beings, all guilty, all complicit, all demons wearing human faces. He drew his chainsaw. The screaming started 30 seconds later. Groundhog turned from his defeated opponent, confused by the sudden panic in the stands. Then he saw the figure wading through the crowd, saw the spinning blade reduce a pyrokinetic soup to component pieces, saw the absolute efficiency of violence incarnate. What the fuck? The Slayer crossed the arena in 3 strides. Groundhog raised stone barriers from the concrete floor. The chainsaw carved through them like balsa wood. More barriers, more futile defense. Then the Slayer was on him, and Groundhog learned that super strength meant nothing against something that had torn apart Hell Knights. The chainsaw found flesh. The crowd screaming reached hysteria. Exits clogged with panicking criminals. The Slayer ignored them. He only killed demons. These human parasites weren't worth the ammunition. But the Supes, the enhanced abominations who used their gifts to prey on the weak, those he executed methodically. 7 minutes later, 17 enhanced combatants lay dead. The facility burned, green flames consuming Eng survivors to spread the word. Something was hunting New York's superheroes, and it showed no mercy. By dawn, the body count had tripled. Popclaw, minor Supe with enhanced leg strength, known for accidentally killing her landlord during sex, died in her apartment. Door blown off hinges. Single shotgun blast to the center mass. Neighbors reported seeing an armored figure walk out calmly, while her girlfriend screamed. Homelander watched it all from his penthouse. Multiple screens showing news coverage, social media feeds, police scanners. Each death was another nail in the coffin of his authority. Each kill proved that someone else could do what he claimed only he could do. Hunt, judge, execute. They're weak, he muttered, pacing between screens. All of them. D-list trash. Popclaw was a joke. Ezekiel was a pervert. They're not me. He's just picking off the weak ones before his phone buzzed. Ashley, again. What? We need you. Her voice trembled. A train tried to stop the creature. He's in the hospital. Both legs shattered. Says the thing caught him mid-run, slammed him into pavement, and just kept running. Like A train was an inconvenience. The fastest man alive. Caught. Broken. Where is it now? Hell's Kitchen. There's a Vought facility there. Black site. Off the books. He's inside. Homelander was already moving, crashing through his window into morning air. Hell's Kitchen was 3 miles away. He covered it in 40 seconds, landing outside a nondescript warehouse that most New Yorkers passed without noticing. Smoke poured from windows. Emergency services hadn't arrived yet. This site was so classified, even 911 calls got rerouted. Homelander could hear screaming inside. Gunfire. Then silence. He should go in. Should confront the Slayer again. Prove he wasn't afraid. But his feet wouldn't move. His shoulder, fully healed now, still remembered the plasma burn. His ribs still recalled cracking under that armored knee. His throat still felt the kiss of that glowing blade. The main door exploded outward. The Slayer emerged dragging something. No, someone. A man in a white lab coat, glasses shattered, face purple with bruising. He was whimpering, begging in words that came out as wet gasps. The Slayer threw him into the street like garbage. Then he looked up, directly at Homelander. 30 feet separated them. 30 feet of empty pavement and morning air. Homelander could close it in a heartbeat. Could hit the Slayer with everything he had. Could run. His body made the decision before his mind could. He shot upward, gaining altitude, putting distance between himself and those patient, terrible eyes. Below, the Slayer holstered his weapon and walked back inside. More screaming. More gunfire. Then the building detonated. Green fire consuming evidence and corpses alike. Homelander hovered at 500 feet, chest heaving, watching black smoke rise. The lab coat man crawled away from the inferno, sobbing. Coward, Homelander whispered to himself. Fucking coward. He wasn't sure which of them he meant. Vought Tower, Emergency Command Center. Queen Maeve stood at the head of the conference table, arms crossed, face harder than anyone had seen in years. The remaining members of the Seven sat in various states of shell shock. The Deep nervously adjusted his gills. Black Noir communicated through sign language, hands moving rapidly. Starlight, newest member, still naive enough to believe in actual heroism, looked like she might vomit. 17 confirmed Supes deaths, Maeve announced. 39 Vought personnel. 4 facilities destroyed, and Homelander is nowhere to be found. He's hunting the creature, Ashley interjected weakly from the corner. Tracking it, playing a long game. He's hiding. Maeve's voice could cut glass. We all saw him run, twice. So we're done pretending he's handling this. Then what do we do? Starlight asked. This thing is killing people. We're supposed to protect. It's killing Supes who had it coming. Maeve interrupted. Popclaw killed her landlord. Ezekiel was trafficking. Mesmer blackmailed children. The creature isn't targeting civilians. It's targeting us. Us? The Deep's voice cracked. I haven't done anything wrong. Maeve's look could have melted steel. Really? Want to explain those assault allegations from your last 3 movies? The Deep went very pale. My point, Maeve continued, is that this thing has a list. And if you're on it, running won't help. A train tried. Fastest man alive. Still caught. Still broken. Black Noir signed rapidly. Ashley translated. He's asking if we're meant to just surrender. No, we're meant to get smart. Maeve pulled up a map of the city, marked with red dots. Every target has been connected to Vaught's blackest operations, human experimentation, evidence disposal, witness elimination. This creature knows things it shouldn't, which means it either has intelligence from inside Vought, or it can sense guilt. Starlight finished quietly, like it knows what people have done. The room went silent. That's insane, Ashley said. Powers don't work like that. It's probably just hacked our files, or... The lights died. Emergency backup engaged after 3 seconds of pure darkness. When illumination returned, everyone was on their feet, powers manifesting instinctively. Starlight's hands glowed. The Deep's enhanced strength tensed. Black Noir had weapons drawn. Maeve stared at the doorway. It stood empty. But the motion sensors were screaming. Something had been there. Something large. Something that had looked into the room, assessed them, and decided they weren't worth killing yet. Ashley's phone buzzed. She checked it with trembling hands. Security just went offline. All of it. Every camera, every door lock, The building shuddered. Not an explosion. Something heavier, more deliberate. Like something massive had just landed on the roof. "He's here," Starlight whispered. "He's actually here." Maeve grabbed her sword. Not props. Real weapons, she demanded, after tonight's events, and moved toward the door. "Then we end this. Together. As a team." "Are you insane?" The Deep backed away. Homelander couldn't stop it. "What makes you think Homelander fought alone?" Homelander's ego got in the way. Maeve's eyes blazed. "We fight smart. We fight together, or we die like the predators we are." Another impact. Closer. Moving down through floors with methodical purpose. The seven assembled. Powers ready. Waiting for the door to open. Waiting for death in green armor. The door didn't open. It exploded inward, torn from reinforced hinges, by something that treated military-grade security like cardboard. The Doomslayer stepped through smoke and debris, armor scored with fresh damage from whatever gauntlet he'd run on his way up. His helmet tracked across the assembled heroes with the patience of a predator selecting prey. Starlight moved first, pure instinct overriding fear. Light erupted from her hands, concentrated solar energy that had once blown apart a concrete wall. The blast struck the Slayer's chest plate and scattered like water against stone. He didn't even stagger. Black noir came from the blind spot. Twin daggers aimed for the armor's joints with assassin precision. The blades found their marks and shattered. Whatever material comprised the Praetor suit, it wasn't anything terrestrial. Noir rolled away as the Slayer's fist hammered down, pulverizing the floor where he'd been standing. "Spread out," Maeve commanded, charging with her sword raised. "Don't let him focus." The Deep hit from the right, enhanced strength driving a punch that could dent steel. The Slayer caught his fist mid-swing, twisted, and there was a sound like branches snapping. The Deep screamed, stumbling back with his wrist bent at an angle that made Starlight gag. Maeve's sword came down in a two-handed strike. The Slayer blocked with his gauntlet, metal shrieking against metal, then drove his knee into her ribs. She felt something crack, not break. Her Amazonian physiology was too resilient, but crack. Pain exploded through her chest as she flew backward into the conference table, shattering it. 3 seconds. 3 members of the 7, neutralized in 3 seconds. The Slayer drew his plasma rifle. Down. Black Noir signed frantically, diving behind overturned furniture. The shot vaporized the space where Starlight had been standing. She'd moved on instinct, light speed reflexes saving her life by inches. The wall behind her ceased existing, a perfectly circular hole exposing the floor below. "We can't fight him," Ashley shrieked from where she'd pressed herself against the wall. "We need to evacuate." "No!" Maeve pushed herself up, blood on her lips. "We hold. The Slayer's motion tracker beeped. His head snapped toward the windows. Something fast approached. Homelander, the symbol of America's superhero supremacy, crashed through the reinforced glass in a shower of diamonds and fury, heat visioned already blazing. He'd been watching from a distance, letting his team engage first, waiting for an opening. Classic predator behavior. Let others weaken the prey. The Slayer's energy shield activated. Green hexagonal patterns manifesting in the air, absorbing the laser barrage. Homelander's eyes widened. That hadn't been there before. The thing was adapting, learning. "You've had your fun," Homelander snarled. landing between the Slayer and the others. But you're done killing my people. The Slayer holstered his rifle and drew the super shotgun with deliberate slowness. A challenge. An invitation. Homelander charged. They met in the center of the command center, and the impact shattered remaining windows. Homelander's speed versus the Slayer's perfect timing. Superhuman strength versus ancient rage made manifest. They traded blows that would have killed normal men, each strike generating shockwaves. Homelander got cocky, landed a solid hit that dented the Slayer's chest plate. Not so tough without the Slayer's headbutt crushed Homelander's nose. Blood sprayed. Real pain. Homelander staggered, vision swimming, and the super shotgun's barrel pressed under his jaw. Time froze. The Slayer's finger on the trigger. Homelander's eyes wide with primal fear. The remaining 7 watching, torn between horror and hope. The trigger didn't pull. Instead, the Slayer threw Homelander aside like trash and turned to face the others. His HUD had finished scanning, processing, judging. Black noir, red, guilty. Multiple assassinations for vote, target acquired. Maeve, yellow, complicit. Witness to crimes but took no action. Low priority. Starlight, green, innocent. Misled but not corrupt. Non-target. The deep, orange, guilty of assault. Intermediate threat. His weapon tracked a Black Noir who stood perfectly still. The assassin knew. In that moment of absolute clarity, Noir understood he'd been weighed and found wanting. Run, Maeve whispered. Noir moved, but the Slayer moved faster. The plasma rifle fired once, and Noir's legendary silence became permanent. The Deep was already gone, crashing through the opposite window into New York air. His aquatic abilities would be useless in combat, but they'd let him escape. The Slayer let him go. Small fish, not worth chasing. That left Maeve and Starlight. 2 women. One broken by compromise. One still believing heroes meant something. The Slayer's weapon tracked between them, then lowered. Go, Maeve told Starlight. Get out. Now. But now. Starlight fled, her light trail disappearing into the pre-dawn darkness. Maeve stood alone with the Slayer, sword held in trembling hands. She'd seen what he did to trained killers. She had no illusions about her chances. I know what I am, she said quietly. I know what I've let happen. The things I've seen and done nothing about. If you're here to execute me, I won't stop you. The Slayer studied her. His huddy displayed her file. Decades of heroism twisted by Solid's corruption. Complicit, yes, but also trapped. A prisoner of her own power and Volt's control. Yellow, not red. He turned away, moving toward where Homelander had crashed into debris. The symbol of heroic supremacy was crawling, nose shattered, one eye swelling shut. He looked up at the approaching figure with genuine terror. Please, Homelander whispered. Please, I'm a hero. I save people. The Slayer grabbed him by the throat and lifted him effortlessly. Homelander weighed 240 pounds of muscle and bone. The Slayer held him one-handed like a child holding a doll. Their faces were inches apart. Homelander stared into that dark visor and saw his reflection. Bloodied, beaten, pathetic. I can change, Homelander gasped. I can be better. I'll stop. The Slayer's grip tightened. Not enough to kill. Just enough to remind Homelander what helplessness felt like. What every person he'd threatened, every victim he'd terrorized, every innocent he'd murdered had felt in their final moments. Then he dropped him. Homelander collapsed, gasping, confusion mixing with terror. Why? Why not? The Slayer pointed. At the window. At the city beyond. at the cameras that were surely recording this. Then he raised one gauntleted finger and tapped his helmet. A gesture. Universal. Simple. I'm watching you. He activated something on his wrist, the same green energy from his arrival portal. Space began to tear, reality bleeding at the edges. Wait, Maeve stepped forward. If you're leaving, why do all this? Why kill them? Why terrify him? The Slayer paused at the portal's threshold. His helmet turned to regard her one final time. Then he spoke, his voice like stones grinding together, like hell itself given words. Because demons must learn to fear. He stepped through the portal and vanished, taking the rift with him. Silence filled the shattered command center. Maeve stood among debris and bodies, sword still raised, hardly believing they'd survived. Homelander curled on the floor, sobbing quietly, the invincible hero reduced to a broken child. Across the city, in 100 different locations, corrupt Supes who'd been watching the live stream felt their blood run cold. Something had come to their world, something that judged them, something they couldn't kill. And it was still out there, watching. The footage went viral in minutes. Someone, probably Ashley's nightmare scenario, had been live streaming the entire confrontation. Homelander being thrown like a rag doll. Black Noir's execution. The Slayer's final words before vanishing. Within an hour, every major network was playing it on loop. Within 3 hours, it had 500 million views. The world watched their greatest hero reduced to a sobbing wreck on the floor. Stan Edgar watched it from his office, expression carved from granite. His phone hadn't stopped ringing. Board members, government officials, international partners, all asking the same question in various forms of panic. What the fuck just happened? Sir, Ashley appeared in his doorway looking like she hadn't slept in days. We need a statement. The UN is demanding answers. China is calling it an act of war. Russia is doing what Russia always does, exploiting chaos. Edgar muted another incoming call. What's Homelander's status? Medical says he's physically fine. Healing factor already fixed the nose, the ribs, everything. But psychologically, she hesitated. He won't leave his apartment, won't talk to anyone, just sits there watching the footage of himself crying. Over and over. Good. Ashley blinked. Good? He needed to be broken, reminded that he's not invincible, that there are consequences. Edgar stood, straightening his tie. Homelander has been an uncontrollable asset for too long. This creature did what I've been trying to do for years. Made him afraid. But the creature killed 23 people in our tower. It destroyed 4 black sites. It executed Black Noir on camera. Black Noir was compromised, a liability. Edgar's voice was ice. The creature did us a favor. It eliminated problems and delivered a message. What message? That we're not as powerful as we pretend to be. Edgar moved to the window, looking down at the protest forming outside. Hundreds of people with signs. Homelander is a fraud. Vought covers up murder. Where were the real heroes? Which means we adapt, we pivot, we survive. How? Our stock is in free fall. Our hero approval ratings are the lowest in company history. And that thing could come back at any moment. Edgar smiled. Then we make sure when it does, we're ready. 3 miles away, in the basement hideout, Butcher watched the same footage with considerably more enthusiasm. Beautiful, he breathed. Absolutely fucking beautiful. The cunt's crying. Actually crying. This is bad, Butcher. Stood with arms crossed, jaw tight. That thing slaughtered people. It could have killed Maeve and Starlight. It didn't. It judged them and let them live. Butcher replayed the moment when the Slayer lowered his weapon. It's got a code. Kills the guilty. Spares the innocent. More mercy than Homelander's ever shown. It's still murder, Huey said quietly. Even if they were bad people, it's still justice. Butcher turned to face them. Real justice. Not the kind bought with NDAs and Vought lawyers. The kind where actions have consequences. Frenchie worked at his laptop, fingers flying across keys. I have been analyzing the portal energy signature. It is unlike anything in our physics. Quantum tunneling combined with dimensional membrane piercing. The mathematics are beautiful, if terrifying. Can we replicate it? Butcher asked. None. We would need technology centuries beyond our capability. But Frenchie pulled up an energy reading. I can detect the residual signature. If the creature returns, I will know. And more importantly, I will know where. Good. Because he's coming back. Butcher pulled up a file on his screen. Mallory gave me the locations of Vaught's deepest secrets. The places they keep the real monsters. Experimental Supes. Failed Compound V subjects. Evidence of mass murder. And you think the Slayer will target them? MM asked. I think the Slayer's got a list, and we just saw him cross off the first page. There's more demons where Homelander came from. He'll be back to finish the job. Kimiko signed rapidly, and Frenchie translated. She asks what we do when he returns. Do we fight beside him? Against him? Or run like sensible people? Butcher grinned. We point him at the biggest demons and get the fuck out of the way. In Homelander's penthouse, the strongest man alive sat in darkness. The footage played on mute across multiple screens. Himself being thrown. Himself bleeding. Himself begging. Himself crying. Each replay carved deeper into his fracturing psyche. I'm Homelander, he whispered to his reflection. I'm the greatest hero who ever lived. His reflection showed the truth. Bruises fading but present. Eyes red from tears. The perfect image cracked beyond repair. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but some masochistic impulse made him answer. Hello, Homelander. The voice was female, unfamiliar, calm. My name is Madeline Stillwell. I used to work for Vought before Stan Edgar had me reassigned. I've been watching your situation with great interest. Who the fuck? Someone who understands what you're going through. Someone who knows what it's like to be powerful and still feel helpless. A pause. Someone who can help you kill the creature that humiliated you. Homelander's grip tightened on the phone. How? By giving you what you've always lacked. Equals. Real teammates. Not Vaught's manufactured heroes, but people with actual power who understand what it means to be feared. Another pause. Tell me, have you ever heard of the Payback program? Vaught's second-tier team? They're jokes. C-listers who couldn't be controlled. That's why Vought disbanded them. Because Soldier Boy and his team didn't care about ratings or merchandise. They cared about winning. At any cost. Stillwell's voice dropped. I know where they are. I know how to wake them. And I know they'd be very interested in meeting the creature that made you bleed. Homelander stood, something dark and desperate stirring in his chest. What do you want in return? When this is over, when the creature is dead and your reputation restored, I want my job back. I want Stan Edgar's job, and I want you properly unleashed. No more PR restrictions. No more playing nice for cameras. Just raw power doing what it was meant to do. And if I say no, then you'll face that creature alone next time. And we both know how that ends. Stillwell let the words hang. Or you can have an army. Real power. The kind that makes demons afraid. Your choice. Homelander looked at his screens. At himself, broken and bleeding. At the Slayer walking away, victorious. Tell me where they are. Deep in Vort's sub-basements, levels that didn't appear on any blueprint, scientists worked frantically on the armor fragment left behind after the tower fight. The Slayer's shield had taken damage. Microscopic pieces of technology had scattered. Dr. Park, head of Vought's weapons division, studied the fragment under an electron microscope and felt his worldview shatter. This isn't technology, he told his assistant. Not as we understand it. This is biomechanical. Grown, not built. The metal has a crystalline structure that responds to intent. It's partially alive. How is that possible? It's not. In our universe, Park pulled up molecular analysis, but the quantum signature suggests this material originated in a dimension with different fundamental forces, different laws of physics. It exists in a state of quantum flux that allows it to interface with the user's neurological system. You're saying the armor is bonded to him psychically. I'm saying the armor and the user are becoming the same thing. And if we could replicate even a fraction of this technology, Park's eyes gleamed. We could create Supes who don't need Compound V. Supes who are actually controllable. Supes who make Homelander look Liu evacuated civilians while everyone else ran. I've also stood by while Homelander murdered innocents. Watched him execute enemies and done nothing. Smiled for cameras while knowing what we really are. Maeve picked up her sword. The Slayer showed mercy. More than I deserved. So I'm done being complicit. What does that mean? It means when he comes back, and he will come back, I'm not fighting him. Maeve turned to face Starlight fully. I'm helping him. Whatever demons are left in this city, in this company, in this team, they burn, and I'm lighting the match. Starlight stared. That's betraying Vought. Betraying the Seven. No. Maeve's smile was sharp and bitter. It's finally being an actual hero. Want to join me, or are you going to keep playing Vought's game? Before Starlight could answer, alarms shrieked across the city. Both women's phones exploded with alerts simultaneously. Another dimensional rift. This time in Times Square. The Slayer had returned. Times Square at 8 a.m. was a river of humanity. Tourists snapping photos, commuters rushing to offices, street performers competing for attention. Screens the size of buildings displayed advertisement S, news feeds. Vought propaganda. The heart of New York, pulsing with life and commerce. Then reality tore open. Multiple perspectives converging on Times Square, and the Slayer pursuing a specific, significant target. The portal manifested 30 feet above the intersection. Green fire bleeding into morning air. Pedestrians screamed, scattering in every direction as the rift expanded. Debris from another dimension rained down, chunks of stone that looked too organic. Metal fragments still dripping with something that wasn't blood, but close enough. The Doomslayer dropped through, landing in a three-point crouch that cratered asphalt. He rose slowly, armor scorched and damaged from whatever hellscape he'd been cleansing, and his HUD immediately began scanning. Target acquired. 2 blocks north, the Vought Entertainment Complex, where Supes filmed their reality shows, recorded their podcasts, manufactured their perfect lives for public consumption. and in the sub-basement, according to intelligence pulled from the tower's servers during his last visit, where Vought kept their rehabilitating Supes, the ones too violent even for their public image, the ones locked away until Vought could weaponize them properly. The Slayer started walking. Police arrived in 90 seconds. Remarkable response time for NYPD. Squad cars formed a perimeter. Officers shouting commands through megaphones about surrender and compliance. The Slayer ignored them completely. I said stop. A sergeant raised his service weapon. On the ground, now. The Slayer drew his plasma rifle without breaking stride and fired. Not at the officers, but at the squad cars. 3 shots. 3 vehicles detonated, forcing the officers back behind cover. A warning. Stay out of his way. He kept walking. The SWAT team arrived next. 30 tactical officers with military-grade hardware, flashbangs already in hand. They'd trained for supervillain scenarios. They had protocols. The Slayer activated his shoulder-mounted micro-missiles. 6 projectiles launched simultaneously, spiraling through the air to impact the street between SWAT and civilians. The explosions were precise, loud enough to scatter the team, small enough to avoid civilian casualties. Another warning. By the time National Guard units mobilized, the Slayer had reached the entertainment complex. The lobby was opulent. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, walls covered in promotional posters for Vaught's latest productions. Behind the reception desk, a young woman stared at the armored figure with trembling recognition. Please, she stammered, I'm not green, non-combatant, innocent. The Slayer walked past her toward the elevators, leaving boot prints of alien mud across pristine floors. In the tight penthouse, Homelander watched the live news feed with something between rage and terror warring in his chest. He's back, he whispered. He's actually back. Stillwell's voice came through his phone, calm and calculating. Then honor our arrangement. Payback is en route. They'll meet you at the complex in 3 minutes. 3 minutes? You should prove you're still the world's greatest hero. Or you should hide and let everyone watch you become irrelevant. Her voice hardened. Choose, Homelander, now. He looked at his reflection one more time, saw the fear there, the weakness. Everything he'd spent his entire life denying. Then he flew. Butcher's van screeched around the corner, 2 blocks from the complex, at the wheel, Frenchie frantically tracking energy signatures on his laptop. He is targeting something specific, Frenchie reported. The dimensional energy is focused, controlled. This is not random destruction. This is surgical. What's in that building? Huey pulled up schematics on his tablet. Public access only goes down 3 floors, but there's 7 more sublevels not on any official blueprint. Black sites inside Vaught's public facilities. Butcher grinned savagely. Clever cunts. Hide your war crimes where the tourists take selfies. What's he after? Unknown. But whatever it is, he came back specifically for it. Frenchie's screen lit up with new signatures. Mad. We have incoming Supes. Multiple signatures. Some I recognize. Some I do not. Payback, said grimly. Vaught's old team. The ones they kept on ice because they were too unstable. Thought they were dead? So did everyone. Guess Vaught's full of surprises. The Slayer rode the elevator down, ignoring the piped-in music playing cheerful pop songs. His motion tracker showed multiple enhanced signatures below. 7 sublevels, each one housing something Vought wanted hidden. The doors opened on sublevel 4. A hallway stretched before him, fluorescent lights flickering over reinforced doors. Each door had a designation. E47, E51, E63. Behind them, he could hear breathing, movement, the scrape of claws against metal, failed experiments, Supes who'd been given too much compound V or the wrong variant, or who'd simply broken under the power, transformed into something neither human nor useful, locked away and forgotten. The Slayer checked his age hood. Red. All red. Not because they were evil, because they were suffering. Because Vought had turned them into monsters and caged them like animals. Because mercy, in this case, meant ending what never should have begun. He started with E47. The door came off with one pull. Inside, something that had once been a teenage boy looked up with 6 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. His skin was translucent, showing organs pulsing underneath. He'd been enhanced with some kind of chameleon DNA that had mutated horrifically. The creature hissed, backing into the corner. The Slayer raised his shotgun. The boy thing understood. Relief flickered across its malformed features. The blast was quick, merciful. 47 more doors waited. Homelander crashed through the complex's roof 6 minutes after the Slayer entered. Emergency response finally getting its act together. But he wasn't alone. 5 figures landed behind him. Soldier Boy, Vought's original Superman program from the 80s. Older, but still powerful. Crimson Countess. Fire manipulation and telekinesis. The TNT twins. Explosive touch and sadistic tendencies. Mindstorm, telepath who could trap victims in their worst nightmares. Payback, the team that had terrified America before Vought, sanitized superheroism. There, Soldier Boy said, voice gravelly from decades in cryogenic sleep. Basement levels, I can hear combat, multiple targets. He's killing the experiments, Homelander said. Cleaning house. Then we clean him. Soldier Boy cracked his knuckles, smile predatory. Been waiting for a real fight. Vought kept us locked up because we didn't play nice. This asshole wants violence. Let's show him what real violence looks like. They descended together, 6 Supes united by hatred of the creature that had exposed their world's weakness. In the basement, the Slayer finished with E63 and moved to the next sub-level. His motion tracker pinged. Multiple enhanced signatures incoming from above. Good. He'd been getting bored hunting the weak ones anyway. He loaded armor-piercing rounds into the super shotgun and turned toward the stairwell. Let them come. Maeve and Starlight arrived on the ground level just as civilians fled the building. Maeve grabbed a security guard by the collar. How many people still inside? I don't know. Maybe 50. Everyone's evacuating, but the sub-levels are sealed. Starlight finished. The experiments can't escape even if they wanted to. Maeve looked at the building, then at Starlight. We're going in. To fight the Slayer. To evacuate whoever's left. Let Homelander and his new friends handle the killing. We save people. Maeve's expression was steel, like heroes are supposed to. They entered together, moving against the tide of fleeing civilians. Behind them, Butcher watched from the van and smiled. Everyone's coming to the party, he said. Time for the real show to start. In the sub-basements, the Slayer heard footsteps descending. Multiple signatures. Enhanced. Hostile. He chambered around and waited in the darkness. The demons sub-level 5 was a concrete maze of holding cells and observation rooms. Emergency lighting cast everything in sickly red. The Slayer positioned himself at a choke point. Narrow corridor with limited angles of approach. Let them come to him. Let them funnel into his kill zone. Soldier Boy descended the stairs first, shield raised every inch the propaganda poster from 5 decades ago. I know you can hear me, asshole. I'm giving you one chance to surrender before... The plasma rifle shot took him in the chest. Soldier Boy flew backward, crashing through a reinforced wall. He emerged seconds later, costume scorched but healing already. Okay, no surrender. Works for me. The TNT twins came next, flanking from both sides. Their power was simple. Touch something, make it explode. They moved with the confidence of people who'd killed by handshake. The Slayer's shoulder cannon tracked left, fired. The male twin dodged barely, the micro-missile detonating against the wall behind him. The female twin closed from the right, hand outstretched, already counting her victory. The Slayer caught her wrist. His armor's shielding absorbed the explosive energy, channeling it harmlessly into the ground. Her eyes widened. What? He threw her into her brother. They impacted, and their powers activated involuntarily against each other. The explosion was catastrophic. When the smoke cleared, both twins lay unconscious, burned by their own abilities. 2 down. Crimson Countess appeared at the corridor's end, hands glowing with telekinetic fire. Cute trick. Let's see you handle... The corridor erupted in flames. Superheated plasma that could melt steel. The Slayer walked through it. Shield active. Energy barrier refracting the heat. Countess's confidence wavered. She increased the intensity, pouring everything into an inferno that reached 3,000 degrees. The Slayer emerged from the flames and grabbed her throat. She clawed at his gauntlet, trying to ignite him at point-blank range. Her power washed over his armor like water over stone. How? How are you? He'd fought demons made of fire in hell's deepest pits. Her power was summer rain compared to that inferno. He threw her through a cell door. She didn't get back up. 3 down. Mindstorm stepped into view, eyes glowing with psionic energy. Physical force won't save you from me. I'm in your head now. Let's see what nightmares... The Slayer's HUD detected the psychic intrusion and deployed countermeasures. His helmet wasn't just armor. It was technology millennia beyond this world, designed to fight demonic entities that existed partially in mental space. Mindstorm's telepathy crashed against firewalls that had been tested against hell's greatest psychic tormentors. No, Mindstorm whispered, confusion replacing confidence. That's not. You shouldn't be able to... The Slayer's fist caved in his skull. 4 down, which left the 2 dangerous ones, Soldier Boy and Homelander. They came together, coordinating for the first time. Soldier Boy's shield bashed from the left, while Homelander's heat vision struck from above. The Slayer ducked the shield, rolled under the lasers, came up firing. Armor-piercing rounds caught Soldier Boy in the knee, and the old Supes actually grunted in pain. Real pain. Something he hadn't felt in combat since the 80s. Homelander pressed the advantage, hitting the Slayer with haymakers that would have demolished buildings. The Slayer blocked, parried, returned strikes that made Homelander's bones vibrate. They traded blows in a savage exchange, and for the first time, Homelander felt something like equality. The Slayer was strong. Not quite Homelander strong, but close enough that skill mattered more than raw power. And the Slayer had skill measured in eons. Soldier Boy recovered, charging with his shield, leading. The Slayer twisted, used Homelander's momentum against him, threw the younger Super into the older one. They crashed together in a tangle of limbs and egos. Get off me. Homelander shoved Soldier Boy away. You get off. I had him lined up. The Slayer reloaded methodically while they argued. Then he drew something new, a weapon they hadn't seen yet, The BFG 9000. Massive. Glowing green with barely contained energy. The kind of weapon you brought when normal wasn't cutting it. Both Supes' eyes widened. Move! Soldier Boy grabbed Homelander and dove. The shot missed them by inches and vaporized the entire corridor behind them. When they looked back, 60 feet of reinforced concrete simply didn't exist anymore. What the fuck was that? Homelander breathed. Something that kills gods, Soldier Boy said grimly. We need a new strategy. 3 levels up, Maeve and Starlight evacuated the last civilian researcher, a geneticist who'd been working late, trapped when lockdown protocols engaged. That's everyone, Starlight confirmed, checking thermal scans. Except the experiments. Maeve looked toward the stairs leading down, the ones in the cells. They can't escape on their own. Maeve, we can't. The Slayer is down there. Homelander's team is down there. If we go down, then we die doing something that actually matters. Maeve drew her sword. I've spent 20 years being Vort's pet hero, smiling for cameras while people suffered. I'm done. Those things in the cells, they were people once. They deserve a chance. Starlight stared at her. Then slowly, her hands began to glow. Okay, but we do this smart. We get them out and we run. No heroic last stands. Agreed. They descended together. Butcher watched through hack security feeds, Frenchie's laptop displaying multiple angles of the chaos below. Payback's getting shredded, observed. Slayer's barely slowed down. Because he's fought worse, Butcher said. Whatever hell he crawled out of, it makes Supes look like children with firecrackers. He watched the Slayer systematically dismantle Soldier Boy's defense. Beautiful. Violence. Absolutely beautiful. Maeve and Starlight are heading for the experiment cells, Huey reported. They're trying to evacuate them. Course they are. Maeve's having her redemption arc. Butcher lit a cigarette. Good for her. Bad for her life expectancy. Kimiko signed urgently, pointing at another screen. Merde, Frenchie breathed. We have additional signatures incoming. Multiple vehicles, Vought security, military contractors. They are surrounding the building. Edgar's containment protocol, said. They're going to seal everyone inside and what? Huey asked. Kill the Slayer. We just watched him walk through everything Vought could throw at him. Not kill, Butcher said quietly. Contain, study, weaponize. Edgar doesn't want the Slayer dead. He wants the Slayer's technology, his armor, his weapons, everything that makes him unkillable. How do you know? Because it's what I'd do. Butcher stood. Time to crash the party properly. Frenchie, you got that EMP device working? Oui, but it will only disrupt Vaught's systems, not the Slayer's tech. I know, that's the point. Butcher grabbed his coat. We shut down Vaught's containment, give everyone a chance to escape, including our armored friend. Why help him? asked. He's killed dozens of people. Because right now he's killing the right people. Butcher headed for the door. Come on. We've got a building to infiltrate and a corporation to fuck with. Just like old times. In Sublevel 6, the Slayer fought Soldier Boy and Homelander simultaneously, while moving toward the experiment cells. His HUD showed 17 viable subjects remaining. 17 lives twisted by Vaught's science. 17 mercies to deliver. Soldier Boy's shield struck his back. Homelander's fist caught his helmet. The Slayer actually stumbled, and both Supes pressed harder, sensing weakness. We've got him. Homelander's eyes blazed with heat vision. Keep the pressure. The Slayer spun faster than either anticipated and drove his wrist blade into Soldier Boy's thigh. The old Super screamed, a sound he hadn't made in 50 years, and dropped to one knee. Homelander hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough. The Slayer's uppercut lifted him off his feet and sent him crashing through the ceiling into sub-level 5, alone with Soldier Boy. The Slayer drew his shotgun. Wait. Soldier Boy raised a hand, bleeding, beaten. Wait. You and me, we're soldiers. We follow orders, kill the targets. I get that. But I'm not the enemy here. Vought is, Edgar is. They're the ones who the Slayer's HUD displayed Soldier Boy's file. 80 years of heroism. Dozens of covers-ups, countless casualties. Teammates abandoned. Innocents killed for PR purposes. Red, guilty. No, Soldier Boy realized. No, you don't. I was following orders. I didn't have a choice. The Slayer had heard those words before. From demons trying to justify their existence. From corrupted angels, claiming necessity. The answer was always the same. The super shotgun roared. Soldier Boy's shield, the symbol that had represented American heroism for 5 decades, shattered. So did everything behind it. The body slumped. The legend died. The Slayer reloaded and moved towards the experiment cells. Above him, Homelander pulled himself from debris, spitting blood, and heard the shotgun blast. Heard Soldier Boy's scream cut short. Understood what it meant. He'd been the world's most powerful hero for 17 years. Invincible. Unstoppable. Feared by everyone. And in that moment, alone in the darkness with bodies of failed experiments surrounding him, Maeve and Starlight reached sub-level 6. Not Homelander, just John finished opening the final experiment cell. He flew up through the levels, something through the building into open air. He looked up with compound eyes. Its body was an amalgamation of insect and mammal parts. Compound V having rewritten its DNA into something biologically impossible. It chittered, backing away from the Slayer's raised weapon. Wait! Starlight's light burst through the corridor, illuminating the scene. Don't! It's not hurting anyone. The Slayer's helmet turned, scanned them both. Green signatures. Non-hostile. We're here to evacuate them, Maeve said, stepping forward despite every instinct screaming to run. Whatever Vought did to these people, they don't deserve to die for it. Let us take them somewhere safe. The Slayer's hardy ran calculations, analyzed the creature's suffering, its pain, the impossibility of reversal, the mercy in ending what should never have been. But these 2 women wanted to try. He lowered his weapon. Maeve exhaled shakily. Thank you. We'll get them medical help. Real help. Not Vaught's version. The Slayer gestured toward the stairs. Our warning. Time was limited. He's right, Starlight said, helping the insect hybrid to its feet. All 6 of them. We need to move before... The building shuddered. Emergency klaxons shrieked. Red lights pulsed. Lockdown protocol, Maeve cursed. Edgar's sealing the building. We're trapped. Outside, Vought security forces assembled with military precision. Armored vehicles, sonic weapons, experimental tech designed to contain Supes. Stan Edgar watched from a mobile command center. Expression calculating. The target is still in sub-level 6, a technician reported. Thermal shows 3 additional signatures. Queen Maeve, Starlight, and approximately 15 experiment subjects. Seal all exits, Edgar ordered. Deploy the containment foam. I want that armor intact for study. Sir, the subjects are acceptable losses. The armor is priority 1. The technician hesitated, then obeyed. Foam canisters launched through ventilation systems, flooding the sub-levels with quick-hardening compound designed to immobilize even Homelander. Temperature dropped as cryo-systems activated. The building became a cage designed for gods. And in the sewers beneath, Butcher's team moved fast. There, Frenchie pointed to a junction box. That controls the building's primary systems. If I can bypass the encryption, you've got 60 seconds before they notice us, said, keeping watch. Then I work fast. Frenchie's fingers flew across his tablet, code cascading down the screen. Vault's security is formidable, but... there. The maintenance back door. They never patch the maintenance access because they assume nobody would. Got it. Every light in the entertainment complex died. Lockdown doors froze mid-closure. Containment foam systems shut down. Cryo units failed. In the command center, Edgar's jaw tightened. What just happened? Sir, we've lost all systems. I know what someone's doing. Edgar's phone was already dialing. Butcher. It has to be Butcher. In the darkness of sub-level 6, the Slayer's night vision activated automatically. Maeve and Starlight lit their surroundings. Maeve with an emergency flare. Starlight with her own bioluminescence. The exits are open. The Slayer's helmet speakers crackled. First time either woman had heard him use his voice. Go. Now. What about you? Maeve asked. The Slayer drew his plasma rifle, checking charge levels. His HUD showed Vault forces converging above. 50 armed personnel. 10 armored vehicles. Enough firepower to level a city block. I finished this. There's too many of them. Even for you. The Slayer looked at her. Even through the helmet's dark visor, she felt the weight of his gaze. The absolute certainty of something that had fought battles these people couldn't imagine. I've faced worse. He moved toward the stairs. Maeve and Starlight exchanged glances, then began shepherding the experiments toward the emergency exits. 17 twisted souls who'd been given a second chance at life, however broken. Behind them, the Slayer ascended. Homelander landed 3 miles away, in an alley behind a closed restaurant. His hands shook. His chest heaved. Tears cut tracks through the dirt on his face. He'd run. Again. Left Soldier Boy to die. Abandoned the fight. The world's greatest hero, reduced to a coward hiding in garbage-strewn darkness. His phone buzzed. Stan Edgar. Where are you? I had to regroup. Strategic withdrawal. The target killed Soldier Boy. Killed the TNT twins. Put Crimson Countess and Mindstorm in comas. Edgar's voice was arctic. And you ran. Again. On camera. Every news outlet is showing it. Homelander flees while hero dies protecting him. That's the headline. Homelander's throat closed. You're done, Edgar continued. Effective immediately. You're suspended from the 7. All public appearances cancelled. All endorsements terminated. You'll remain in your apartment under 24/7 surveillance until we determine if you're salvageable. You can't. I'm Homelander. You're a brand. And right now that brand is toxic. Edgar ended the call. Homelander stood in the alley, alone, powerless despite all his power. The invincible man broken by something he couldn't punch or laser into submission. Fear. The Slayer emerged from the entertainment complex into a semicircle of military hardware. 50 rifles aimed at his chest. Sonic cannons charged. Spotlights pinned him like an insect on display. A voice boomed from speakers. Surrender the armor, and your life will be spared. Resist, and we will use lethal force. The Slayer assessed. His ammunition was low. His shield generator needed time to fully recharge. His armor had taken damage across multiple engagements. Tactically, this was a losing position. Which was when Butcher's van crashed through the perimeter, at the wheel. Frenchie leaning out the window with a jury-rigged EMP cannon. Oh aye, Vort wankers, Butcher's voice carried across the square. Remember me? The EMP discharged. Every Vort vehicle died. Rifles shut down. Sonic cannons went silent. The entire containment force was reduced to men with expensive paperweights. The Slayer turned towards the van. Butcher grinned from the passenger window. "You're welcome, mate. Now fuck off before they reboot." The Slayer's HUD marked Butcher. William Butcher. Criminal. Vigilante. Killer of Supes. Orange signature. Guilty of murder, but justified. Protecting innocence through extreme means. Complicated. The Slayer nodded once, acknowledgement of debt, then activated his wrist device. The portal tore open, green fire bleeding into reality. But before he stepped through, he turned one last time toward Vought Tower in the distance, toward where Edgar watched from his office, toward where Homelander hid in his apartment, his helmet's external speakers activated, voice carrying across the square. "I will return." 3 words, a promise and a threat. Then he vanished through the portal, leaving only burning air and the memory of unstoppable violence. In his office, Stan Edgar watched the feed and smiled slightly. "Interesting." "Sir?" His assistant looked confused. "The target escaped. The armor is gone. Soldier Boy is dead. Our stock will recover. It always does." Edgar pulled up files on the armor fragments they'd recovered. "And we have samples. Enough to study. Enough to replicate eventually. That creature thinks it's won. It thinks it's sent a message. Hasn't it? It's proven that our current assets are insufficient, which means we adapt, evolve, build something better." Edgar's smile widened. "By the time it returns, we'll be ready, and when we are, that armor will belong to us." Across the city, in 20 different locations, corrupt Supes watched the news and understood. The Slayer had left, but he'd promised to return. And when he did, the hunting would continue. Maeve stood on a rooftop with starlight, watching the portal's last traces fade from the sky. The experiments were safe. Vaught's containment had failed. The monster who terrified gods had shown mercy. "What do we do now?" Starlight asked. Maeve looked at her sword, at the city, at all the corruption still festering in Vaught's shadow. "We finish what he started," she said quietly. "We clean house, before he comes back to do it for us." And in his apartment, Homelander sat in darkness, watching footage of himself running on a loop, and whispered to his reflection, "I'm still Homelander. I'm still the greatest. I'm still..." But his reflection showed the truth he could no longer deny. He was just a man in a cape. And somewhere, in another dimension, something far worse than him was watching, waiting, judging. Homelander remained suspended, confined to his apartment, haunted by footage of his own terror. Vaught's stock plummeted before Edgar's damage control stabilized it, with promises of next-generation hero initiatives. The world debated whether the armored figure was terrorist or vigilante, demon or angel of vengeance. But in the shadows of New York, those who knew the truth understood something fundamental had shifted. Maeve trained harder, preparing for the war she knew was coming. Butcher collected intelligence on every corrupt Supie, still breathing, building a list for when the Slayer returned. Starlight worked to evacuate the experiments to safe houses, giving them the second chances Vought never would. And across the dimensional barrier, in a realm where hell was real and demons were infinite, the Slayer cleaned his weapons and studied the data his armor had collected. This universe's corruption ran deep. Vought was merely the surface infection. He would return. He would finish what he'd started. Because demons, no matter what universe they inhabited, must learn to fear. The hunt had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. What awaited them in the coming days would test every hero, villain, and broken soul caught between. May the Force be with you. More stories await.